Hey folks, Simon here, and I thought I'd do a video about riding a century ride because part of my training includes riding 100 pretty much most months. Every time I approach it, it requires a bit of respect. So what I thought I'd do, because people ask me all this all the time, how do you approach them? How do you prepare for it? What are kind of like common things that you always do to make sure that you have a really good ride? So what I thought I'd do is make a video and discuss how I look at things, just to make sure that every ride I go on, which is long, is kind of fun and is without drama, and also making sure that I approach it in a way that I can get around with it with confidence. So without further ado, let's get into it. In my experience, to make a century ride way more enjoyable and prevent common disasters or even that dreaded bonk, there are a few things that you can do in the run-up to your rides to make sure that you're going to get the best century ride and not have any hassles along the way. It sounds obvious, but give your bike a thorough check down the night before. There is nothing more frustrating than starting the day with a puncture or a mechanical. Look at each tyre carefully for any objects sticking out of them from a previous ride. Now, I've had that happen to me before, and double check to see if that tyre is worn or rounded off on the edges, because that means that you're going to have less traction. If you need to change it, you're going to need to change it, and it's best to know before you go out on your ride. If all is fine, then look, pump your tyre up to the desired PSI, and then you know you're ready for the next day. Clean the drive chain and the jockey wheels. There is nothing more satisfying than a clean, freshly lubed chain, and it will save you a few watts too. Check your brakes front and back. If you have caliper brakes, make sure that you have enough brake pads to actually stop you. And if you have discs, check that they aren't rubbing, because no one likes a squeaky disc brake when you're climbing. Double check your puncture repair kits. Make sure you've got a couple of spare in your tubes, a pump, tyre levers, and take a spare £5 note with you just in case your Apple Pay doesn't work. Actually, but more importantly, if you do get a rip in the tyre, you can use your fiver to line the inner tyre, and that could make sure that you get home. Make sure you have charged your lights and your Garmin, because remember, if it's not on Strava, it really didn't happen. Trust me, if you know where you're going, then there will be no nasty 30% hill climb surprises, and it will give you an idea of how long the ride will be. I'm a Strava Premium member and have a Garmin 1030. It's an absolutely genius combo for creating routes, working out your elevation and your average riding time. And once you've started a route on Strava that you created, it magically transfers straight onto the Garmin. I know, do you know what, technology, it's amazing. In the interest of fairness, there are other route planning apps that you can use, so what I'll do is I'll put a link to those at the bottom of this video. Want a top tip to make sure that you have a really good ride? Check the wind direction when you're planning your route. This makes the ride way more fun, and it's making sure that you've got a headwind on the way out and a tailwind on the way home. Again, I'll put a link at the bottom of this video to show you some of the websites that I use to check my wind situation when I choose the rides that I'm going to go on. Your fueling starts the day before your 100 ride, so make sure you're eating plenty of carbohydrates throughout the day and drinking at least 2.5 litres of fluid. Now, I'd suggest that you have at least one of those litres with some electrolytes in there, so that way you're making sure that you're aiding fluid retention within the cells. How much carbohydrate should you eat? Well, if you look at the science, it suggests that we should be eating between 7 and 12 grams per kg of body weight to carbohydrate load the day before a big event. But, however, I often find for cyclists that's a lot of food to comfortably digest. So I suggest between 5 and 7 grams per kg of body weight a couple of days before, so you actually are loading the muscle full of glycogen. And last of all, make sure you've got enough bars and the odd banana, if you fancy that sort of thing, to make sure that you're at least supporting the first several hours of your ride before your first stop. And if you are cycling somewhere new and remote, maybe it's a good idea to make sure that you're taking more than you actually need, just to be sure. If you want to make sure you're fueling a ride better, I've got a good video on how to fuel your longer rides, and I'll put a link in the comments below. Right, that's it for this week. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel for more hints and tips, and I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. In my experience, to make a century ride enjoyable and prevent common disasters or that dreaded bonk, check your front brakes check your front brakes. No one likes squeaky brake discs. Squeaky brake discs. Squeaky disc brakes. Disc brakes.